All right, everyone can see the Polygrad screen, correct? Just give me a nod, perfect. Okay, so thank you all for joining us today. My name is Justin Santoli. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm a program manager for the Diversity and Equity Center, and on behalf of the DEC and Polycentral, we welcome you to Polygraduation 2021. Woo! Virtual applause. Polygraduation is celebrated each year for the graduating members of Polycentral or anyone who identifies with the Pacific Islander diaspora and is typically held in person. Although we wish we could be together in person for this celebration, as it is traditionally celebrated, we are excited to safely bring Polygrad to each one of our graduates this year by hosting this virtual recognition ceremony. Our Pacific Islander graduates deserve recognition for all the hard work they have done to make it to graduation during a world health crisis, and we're so happy to have our students, families, and friends here today to celebrate their accomplishments. Just a brief overview of today's program so you understand how the breakdown of how today will go. We're going to start with some opening remarks and some important statements to be made by Mickael Ames. We'll have an alumni keynote from Glendal Tautua, a pre-recorded student performance from Alana Glaser, a poetry reading from Brianna Hunter. We'll have some remarks given by our ASCWU student president, Mickael Candelaria. We'll also have our graduate speaker, Leilani Sali, give some remarks. And then we'll close it out with our graduate recognition and some closing remarks from our committee. So with that being said, our opening speaker is a residence hall coordinator here at CWU for Almonte, Carmody, Green, and Kennedy Halls and has been involved with Polycentral in the past. Prior to CWU, he has lived and worked in numerous areas in the Pacific Northwest and has a Master of Science in Counseling and Psychology. I would now like to welcome Mickael Ames to deliver our acknowledgements and opening remarks. Mickael, whenever you're ready. You're muted just in case. Is everything working out for you, Mickael? No? Okay. Let me see if it lets me. You know, we can do all the tech preparation we want, and then things will still come up.
There we go.
There we go. Yay.
I was asking Eunice to unmute me, not you. Yeah, we should take a moment to acknowledge the land on which Central Washington University resides. It's the historic home of the Yakama people. The federally recognized confederated tribes and bands of the Yakama Nation is made up of the Klickitat, Palouse, Walla Walla, Wanapum, Wenatchee, Wishram, and Yakama people. The Yakama people remain committed stewards of this land, cherishing it and protecting it as instructed by elders through generations. We are honored and grateful to be here today on their traditional lands. We give thanks to the legacy of the original people, their lives, and their descendants. We'd also like to share a statement on recent AAPI violence from the DEC. Central Washington University stands in solidarity with our Asian American Pacific Islander community in light of the exponential increase of anti-Asian violence perpetuated since the start of the pandemic and long before that. We vehemently oppose xenophobia, racism, and acts of violence against marginalized communities. White supremacy is not sustainable, and it is up to all of us to support our communities who are suffering, especially our non-AAPI folks, and work to dismantle systems of oppression in any way that we can. A variety of on-campus and national resources are available for personal and community support at cwu.edu/diversity. And now please take a moment of silence in remembrance and acknowledgement. Malos. Now, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the heartbreaking impacts of climate change around the world and Washington, and most importantly, to our beloved islands in the Pacific Ocean, which are extremely vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Every year, climate change's effects threaten the survival of Pacific islands, lives, and entire cultures. Although the Pacific only contributes to 0.03% of greenhouse gas emissions, islands like Tuvalu, Kiribati, and the Marshall Islands are already living through the devastation of their islands disappearing into the ocean. Sharing the words of Kathy Jetniel Key-Jenner, Marshallese poet and climate envoy, in the Pacific, we are actively living through the climate crisis, cyclone after cyclone, as rising sea levels threaten to engulf our oceans. With these lived realities, Pacific leadership and communities have risen to the challenge and come up with climate solutions, allowing us to be more resilient. Oh, and now into my part. My goal is to be so terrible that I never get asked again, but we'll see if I achieve that or not. Aloha, talofa lava, afade, kamusta, and malo e lele. My name is Mickael Ian Kimo Ames. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology from Western Washington University and a master's of science in counseling psychology from Chaminade University in Honolulu. Currently, I'm a residence hall coordinator here at CWU, and I've worked in housing and residence life for about a decade. I'm the result of many different ethnicities. My mom's side is Missouri, Welsh, Irish cowboy, and Polish immigrant, while my dad's side is Scottish, Chinese, Hawaiian, and maybe Chamorro, maybe Chilean. We're not really sure. It depends on what story you go with. And it's easier just to say that I'm Hapa. My grandpa Ames met my grandmother while he was stationed at Pearl Harbor and was a Pearl Harbor survivor. We don't know too much about our last name, those of us in my family. Grandpa was cut off from the family after he married my grandmother, Alana married Chang, who wasn't white. As a child, that was so confusing. How could anyone not love my tutu? She made the best peanut butter cookies and coconut cake and char siu pork. And that confusion and bitterness of people not loving her turned into resentfulness as I grew. And then it positively turned into bridge building as I further grew. And I'd like to share a few examples of bridge building that I've been able to identify in my life. I've been able to, this is bridge building number one. I've been able to advise a few different Hawaii and Pacific Islander clubs, and that's where I found a tremendous amount of purpose, being an ear and a person to process with for island students when they're away from home and their familiar community. They find themselves in a place where the language is different, the food is different, the weather is different, Howleys can't pronounce their names, and there's not as much aloha. And that's where I got to come in, help be that bridge between home and then a richer life on campus. Be the bridge that listens to questions about why Howleys don't have rice in the cafeteria, especially not for breakfast, and why they laugh when you ask them what kind of poo-poos they like. Take these bits of culture that intersect, like find them and start weaving a bridge. Be a bridge that gets to the point where the dining hall serves loco moco on Fridays because you took the time to explain to one of the cooks how to do it. You just need rice, need eggs, need gravy. I like onions with mine. And then pretty soon, all the campus that has a meal card knows what loco moco is. And they get to share that with their families. I also got them to make manapua, or pork dumplings, char siu, and be that bridge that introduces palusami and wahoo to Palangis that live in your dorm or in your office. Introduce these things to them, share them, be a bridge. Wear your aloha wear, your Maui built, wear your lava lavas and pareos. Be a bridge that invites people to you and you can connect with others. Bridge building number two. A hope I have for all the graduates is that you can be a role model for others within and beyond your community. I worked a leadership camp several summers ago for high school students from rural and underprivileged areas. The campers loved me. I was a kind of big, muscly guy with crazy hair that was goofy and serious depending on what we were teaching. Towards the end of the camp, the counselors from one particular school kind of cornered me and wanted to thank me for being part of that camp, admitting that I was probably the first educated person that their campers had met, in their words, with black hair, and how influential that was for the campers. I shared no blood and little cultural similarities with those students and was still a person to look up to. So I'm asking you to look for those opportunities to be the bridge and be a role model. By me just being a regular Hapa kid, I was able to give those students permission to be something more. People are watching, give them a show that they can remember. Bridge building number 3. Most Polynesian men that I've known were athletes, and sometimes I felt like they were being used without giving much support in school. And I wanted to change that. As a graduate student, I worked at the University of Hawaii's athletic department, where I got to mentor student athletes. For some, it was helping with study strategies. For others, it was just helping to adjust living in the islands and the homesickness they had, being an ocean away from all the people they knew and loved. For others, it was more personal issues that they didn't want to share with the coach. Student athlete mental health is my passion, and I hope to make more opportunities to support that in the future. I've let the fear of failure keep me from pursuing that more often and more fervently. I've given up more often than I'd like to admit, and less than 2 weeks ago, a member of one of the teams that I'd worked with passed away from a very preventable death. And now I cannot help but to think that me not trying hard enough could have kept Colt Brennan alive to still be with his loved ones. Don't let fear get in your way. Be the bridge for those that need it. The graduation speaker I had from Chaminade University was former Honolulu Mayor Mufi Hanneman. Mufi did a great job of weaving in a lot of humor during his speech. I am not that gifted, so I've carved out a little bit of time. And if this offends you, please write your complaints to Mufi Hanneman, the 6'7" Samoan Harvard grad, who I really looked up to. So relax and enjoy a little bit of island humor. What do you call a blind deer in Hawaii? No idea. Why did the Uso take the computer? Because the sign said for sale. You might be from the islands if you ever had to call your parents to ask if you were related to the Ho'opais or the Taulavas or the Villanuevas or the Pasquas, because you like date this boy or girl and got to find out if can. What's a short, quiet Hawaiian laugh? Aloha. You know you're from the islands if you don't eat till you're full, you eat till you're tired. Are you Samoan? Because you always appear in my dreams. If two Hawaiians are having a conversation on the USS Nimitz, are they speaking carrier pigeon? After Godzilla ate Tonga, what did he say? He said, I want some more. And what kind lei you never want people put on your head? Okole. In closing, my first day in Ellensburg, I didn't know if it would feel like home or how I'd be welcomed. I got the keys to my apartment, and they were given to me by a young woman who looked at me sideways and said, hey, you from Hawaii? And then we talked until we found a common person that we knew on Oahu. And she introduced me to her coworker, a Chamorro guy, mainland born, but he gave me some extra Lihimoy crack seed and a can of Spam as a welcome gift. I go to the grocery store, had a Samoan girl from Honolulu that was at the register. And that night at the restaurant, I had a Filipino bartender. You don't have to go very far to find aloha. And if you have to look for it, that might mean that you get to be the aloha for others. Congratulations to all the graduating seniors at Polycentral for all the work over your careers. And thank you and aloha.
Thank you so much. If you have the ability and can turn off your mic, let's just give Mickael a round of applause for that speech. Yay. Okay. So that being said, let me share my screen again. I would like to now introduce our keynote speaker, a 2017, well, first of all, can everyone see my, I always have to do this every time. Everyone can see the PowerPoint again? Okay, so I would like to introduce our next keynote speaker, a 2017 CWU graduate and former Polycentral president. He works to support, represent, and guide minority students as an admissions counselor for multicultural outreach and recruitment at the University of Washington Admissions. He is also a talented multidimensional musical artist whose album Bonnie in Greenwood released last September. I'm so pleased to introduce our keynote speaker, Glendal Tautua. Let me see if, am I ever gonna have the same issues? Do I need to give permission?
There we go. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it. And thank you for that introduction. Thank you for having me. Just feeling a lot of emotions hearing about Polycentral Grad, and just thinking for a long time what to say to you all. And I just want to keep it real and say what's coming from my heart, and kind of talk about Polycentral and what it meant to me and what it means to be here today. When I first got to Central Washington University, I came with my best friend, Manu. And I remember when we were walking away from our parents, we looked at each other and we just started laughing. And I remember Manu saying, "I cannot believe they left us here." And I had that same feeling because we didn't know if we were ready to be independent, right? In the Samoan culture, for me, family is in charge of your life. And so we didn't know how to practice independence. Long story short, after one quarter, we weren't going to classes, we weren't taking care of business, and so we had to drop out. And one of the hardest things I had to do was call up my mom and tell her, "Hey, you have to pick me up because I didn't make grades and I just got kicked out." And if you know Samoan mothers, that was not a nice and friendly conversation. And when I reflected onto why that was and why me and my best friend could not be successful, it came down to one thing. We didn't have the support that we needed to be successful in a college setting, and we felt alone. And so that's where Polycentral came in. And so when we first started Polycentral, it wasn't a club. We didn't plan any events, and we weren't recognized by the university as an organization. It started with 9 or 10 of us who were the only Polynesians on campus, simply just looking for a place to call home away from home. It's hard when you experience and internalize all these stereotypes, right? Hey, do you play football? No. What are you doing here? When you hear things like that, you start to internalize them and it becomes hard. And so we were looking for that support. We ended up studying together. We hung out together and we took care of each other because each other is all we had. A year later, in my second or third year, the number of Polynesian students tripled. And we found ourselves trying to find space to study. So we started renting out rooms in the library, but no space in the library could hold 40, 50 Polynesian students. And so we ended up studying outside. We would do dance practice in shower halls in the football locker room. We were just trying to make it work. Ultimately, my house became the place to be. And so every weekend we were packed with 30 to 40 PI students, and it was crazy. We were one big family, and what was called the Center for Diversity and Social Justice at the time took notice to all the Polynesians on campus. And they asked us what we needed. Still remember that Jamise Johnson, who's no longer here, really played a big role. Well, that led us, turned us into planning Polyfest, turning in paperwork to become a club, and finally being recognized by CW as an organization. But really, Polycentral wasn't about any of that. It wasn't about the big event. It was meant to be a space for Polynesian and Pacific Islander students to come together and achieve their goal of graduating and getting their degree. So being here and seeing you all continue that tradition is nothing short of amazing. The path we walk, we consistently find ourselves living into two different cultures, American and Samoan, American and Tongan, American and Hawaiian, American and Fijian, and so on. And sometimes it feels like you need to hide certain pieces of yourself. A lot of times this culture conflict leaves us confused. We feel like we don't fit in with others. We experience culture shock. And ultimately what that does is lead us to feel inadequate. And so getting here I always tell students that I work with that European settlers looked out into the horizon and they believed the earth was flat. Pacific Islanders looked out into the horizon and saw waves of opportunity and land yet to be discovered. What I discovered during this journey is that innate sense of navigation that our ancestors carry within all of us lives within our lives. Whether that's navigating the education system, navigating the justice system, navigating your way out of a butt whooping from mom and dad, that innate sense of navigation lives within all of us. And that's what you did. You navigated your way to here today. And so this is going to be an amazing time for all of you. Your family's going to shower you with love and lays. And I know you guys aren't having a graduation, right? So you won't be able to have that big time experience where you have lays up to your head. I had a Big Mac lay, a Musa B lay, all kinds of wild celebration things that, we just can't do this year, but you deserve all of the love that's coming from you. It really made me think about the time that I graduated and how my mom was just bawling her eyes out because for a bit there, she didn't think I was gonna do it because I was worrying her. But I made it, and so did you. And I just also wanna say that while it's a really exciting time for all of you, it's also a really scary time for many of you. Also thinking back to when I first graduated, I remember getting home after all the celebrating and I looked into the mirror and thought, now what? I didn't realize that graduation was just the beginning because for so long, that was my destination and that was supposed to be the end. You start to have thoughts like, where am I gonna work? How will I make money? Will my mom ever let me move out? And it starts to overwhelm you a little bit. But I'm here to tell you that those feelings are completely normal. Don't beat yourself up over feeling like there's some uncertainty in your life because that is normal. And people might act like they have everything figured out, but for the most part, we don't. And so it's okay to have those feelings. Even today, I have a job. I'm doing things that I love to do every day. But on the daily, I'm waking up and thinking, man, what's next? And I find myself in situations where I'm just not sure. But again, I have to remind myself that that's okay. It's a part of the journey and the process. What we can't do is just be stagnant, right? You can't move your boat without wind or a paddle or a sail. And so you really need to keep moving. What you also don't want to do is be like me and spend all day after graduating scrolling on your phone through social media, comparing yourself to other people's ideas and images of what it means to be successful. Because what I learned is that comparison is definitely the thief of joy, and that doesn't do you any good. What you need to do is keep moving, keep sailing. As long as you keep working while remembering who you are and where you come from, I guarantee you will be okay. And the last thing I just wanted to say was, I don't want to take too much time. I'm just extremely proud of you all for carrying the torch of Polycentral. Our first ever graduation ceremony was in 2017, and I remember thinking, man, I hope this isn't the last. We need this to continue. Well, it wasn't. And we weren't the last group to probably walk across the stage at the CW wearing the title of Pacific Islander College graduate. You also will not be the last group. And you too have set a trend for all your younger brothers and sisters and nephews and nieces to seek out this kind of success. And it's a big deal. So just remember, right, a lot of the times you might feel like, even though you work so hard for this, that you don't deserve it, right? That's kind of what happens to us when we spend so much time internalizing all the stereotypes and all the things that are put onto us. You get that degree and you still kind of feel inadequate. But I just want to remind you all that you deserve this degree. You deserve all the love that you're going to get. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because you do. But again, this is not the end. You, just like our ancestors, are looking out into the horizon. So go navigate the oceans before you and find the opportunities and successes that await you. I really, really do love and care for you all. And if you need anything moving forward, you can tell the younger students, I will be there in a heartbeat. So thank you for having me. And just remember, this is not the end, it's the beginning. And there's so many things that await you. So keep moving, keep sailing, and keep navigating. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Glenn. Here we go. Now everyone can unmute. Thank you so much, Glendal, and we're so honored to carry on your legacy that you started here at CWU. Let me share my screen again. Next, I would like to introduce, we're going to switch up our formula a little bit, and move on with a student performance. I would like to introduce Alana Glaser, a Siwu junior and member of Polycentral, who will be dancing to Nalio's version of Hector Venegas and Peter Moon's Hawaiian Lullaby. This has been pre-recorded, so enjoy. Wait, let me do a quick check that I have sound sharing on. Perfect, okay. Thank you so much, Alana. Oh, excuse me. I see Alana is here with us today, so let's just give a round of applause for Alana's performance. That was really lovely and beautiful. Okay, so moving on, our next, I would like to welcome Brianna Hunter, a graduating senior, to deliver a poem about resilience, Mariana Strong, by Galvin de Leon Guerrero.
Hi, Hafaday and Tiro, everyone. Can everybody hear me, or am I okay? Awesome. My name is Brianna Hunter, and today I will be reading a poem by Galvin de Leon Guerrero. Although this poem is titled Mariana Strong, it speaks to way more than just the people of the Northern Mariana Islands. It speaks to all of the people of the Pacific Islands, our Pacifica people, who have persevered and stayed resilient through so many hardships, whether it be personal, local, or global. The spirit of Pacific Islanders is so strong because we always know where to find community and how to lend a helping hand to our brothers and sisters. With all the issues of the world, from climate change to this global health crisis, it's important to remember the strength that we have within each of us and the greater strength that we have when we come together as a community. I found this poem fitting for the strength that we have all shown in surviving this past year. I may say Mariana Strong when I read this poem, but I call upon the strength that we all have, our Pacific Island roots that give us strength within each of ourselves. So let us thank our beloved islands and the ocean that connects us. With that, here's the poem. Endured we have the shackles of colonialism, the wrath of war, the storms of a planet in pain. Endure we shall, the panic of pandemics, the collapse of commerce, the sting of cuts. Endure we will, because our resilience runs deep, deep as roots that reach down into the soil, out to other roots, together, holding the land together, and up through trees and taro and hibiscus that bring shelter and food and beauty. Deep as the respect, the honor, the dignity, the course through our bones, when we bow to Fanini and bend our knees to pray and lift our hands to help. Deep as the night sky cast across the horizon, with stars and the moon and constellations that light the way back home. Deep as ocean currents that run and flow and crash along our shores, with tuna and dolphins and memories, interweaving islands sprinkled south to north, from the rim of Micronesia to the tip of Japan. Deep as a trench that stretches for miles and miles and miles, along a ring of fire that rumbles and rages and rises, giving birth to mountains that reach for the heavens. Endured we have, endure we shall, endure we will, because our resilience runs deeper than any chasm we face. We endure because we are Mariana Strong. Thank you so much.
Yay, that was so awesome, Brianna. Thank you so much. That was really beautiful. Ooh, let me grab my notes here together. Next, we have a couple more speeches before the big moment of our graduate recognition. Our next speaker I would like to introduce is a graduating senior and current president of the Associated Students of Central Washington University Student Government, Mickael Candelaria, who will be delivering his ASCWU president remarks.
Magandang mabuhay, Polygrads class of 2021, family and distinguished guests. My name is Mickael Candelaria. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm so honored to have had the opportunity of serving you all as your first Asian Pacific Islander student body president of Central Washington University from the Philippine Islands. I want to first thank Leilani Sali, Justin Santoli, and the rest of the Polygrad committee / support system for inviting me to share the space with all of you today. Class of 2021, Polygrads, this moment is finally here, even if it looks different than what we've imagined. For many of us, this momentous occasion of graduating with a college degree and an education means so much more than just an education, but achieving the dreams and hopes for our families, our ancestors, and our culture that has never been done before. You have accomplished so much during your time at CWU, and this truly needs to be acknowledged. From pulling all-nighters to finish a paper, having to study for an exam instead of living your best life at the bars, balancing a social, academic, and professional life, you have made it. I want to note that graduating while in a pandemic and a virtual form of learning, and more recently, highlighted acts of racial injustice against our own communities, has not been easy. While our commencement ceremony, like this portion of Polygrad ceremony, is in a virtual format, Your accomplishments are not to be diminished. You have made it, even against all the odds stacked against you. Congratulations, Polygrads class of 2021, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Mickael. That was really lovely as well. I appreciate it. We appreciate you so much for everything you have done in your role here. Our last, share my screen again. Our last speaker before our big moment is another graduating senior, and she also serves as our ASCWU Public Relations Director. I'm so honored to welcome to the virtual podium Leilani Sali. Leilani, let me know if you're having tech issues.
Sorry, I was just, my speech is recorded.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You're so right. Thank you. I will go play this right now.
It's okay. I just wanted to make sure. But hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, let me get this screen up and going. Thank you for reminding me of that. And check for computer sound. Okay.
Before I start, I would like to say a few things in my native language. Talo.
Oop, that didn't work. My apologies.
Before I start, I would like to say a few things in my native language. Talo falava. Ia mua lava ona avelevi inga ala faftai lea toa ilene aso matangofie. Tato te ngā lalui whātasiai. O te whiawha whatai lea toa malo ainga. Oi nā lolofa, malango ina au I lau malanga atoa. When I think of my time here at Central, I think about the words of the great scholar and poet Abeli Hafa. Oceania is vast. Oceania is expanding. Oceania is hospitable and generous. Oceania is humanity rising from the depths of brine and regions of fire deeper still. Oceania is us. We are the ocean and we are the sea. For many, we will be the first in our family, the first to receive a college acceptance, the first to attend college, and the first to graduate. Yet the journey to be the first has not been easy. The generational racial inequities that our families have faced and the oppressions that we experience today are the barriers that we continue to struggle to overcome in education, the workforce, and life. In addition to attending school, some of us had obligations to sports, family, the workforce, internships, conducting research, student leadership, and more. But as the cards seem to be stacked against us, we have continued to persist. Like roots that grip the soil, we continue to plot our feet deeper into the ground as we face the obstacles that are thrown our way so that we may rise again, wiser and prepared. Through the long nights of studying and the countless hours at work, we continue to persevere. But this first milestone will certainly not be our last. As we carry the memories of our ancestors to a new future, we too lift our community into perspective, paving the way for many to follow in our footsteps. We will leave CWU in search of many more firsts, expanding the horizons for us, our families, and community along the way. To the class of 2021, we are the sea, we are the ocean. We are vast and ever expanding, and the possibilities are endless. Congratulations to the class of 2021.
Did I cut it off earlier or was that the end, Leilani? That was amazing. Thank you so much, Leilani. That was beautiful. Yes, let's give a round of more rounds of applause. Okay, so let me Go back to screen share. Fine, now I'm going to ask Glendal to step up to our virtual podium again to do our graduate recognition piece.
Oh, I can unmute myself. Thank you so much, Leilani, for that speech. Now for the time that we have been waiting for, recognizing each graduate when to them, which we have shared in the following slides. Graduates will be called in alphabetical order by the first name. If you have the ability to turn on your mics and give a brief round of applause as we read each name, please feel free to do so. Also, if I mess up anyone's name, permission to slap me later. All right. First up is Brianna Hunter. Ooh, Brianna. Graduating with her BA in English Language and Literature. Woo! Round of applause. Next up, we have Jeremiah Vasquez, graduating with his degree in exercise science. People get muscles in the future. Do your thing. Next up is Jarish Moananu. I miss you, Jay, if you're here. She is graduating with her degree in Spanish and a double minor with cybersecurity and ethics. Yay, Jay. Next, we have Kavika Macy. Kavika, you're graduating with his degree in administrative management. Being able to make my parents proud. You go, so. Woo! Yeah, Kavika. Next, we have Leilani Jackie Salu. Leilani is graduating with her degree in anthropology with a minor in museum studies. Yay, Leilani. You guys can also use your reactions. Do the hand clap.
Yes.
Next up, we have Makani Mafua. She is graduating with her BS in computer science. Yes. Oh, I love your PI stuff on the bottom. Yes, sis. So yeah, yay, Makani. Next up, we have Mickael Candelaria. Business administration, degree in business administration and human resources management. Big time president. I'm proud of you. First PI president at CW. I love it. Congrats,
Yes.
Mickael. Next up, we have Michaela Roberts, graduating with her BS in sociology. To me, it's being true to yourself and to, I can't see the bottom, beating the odds. Nice. Congrats, Michaela. Next, we have Nazareth Gibson, graduating with their degree in their BS in clinical physiology. Nice.
Woo!
Next, we have Rolly Joshua Shirai Enriquez, graduating in ETAM, I don't even know what the acronym is, specializing in cyber security. You'll be laying the foundation for future generations to go further than you. Yeah, Rolly. Next, we have Sarah Jane, graduating with her BFA graphic design with a minor in communications.
Woo!
Congrats, Sarah. Next, we have Seoriana Aulava, graduating with their BS in psychology, minor in ITAM project management. Yay. Next up, we have Sydney Ngoto, am I pronouncing that right? With their degree in social services. All about that PI excellence. Okay. Congrats, Sydney. Next, we have Sione Vamawa Sausau, graduating with their BFA in graphic design. And this man is a leader, not a follower. Congrats, Sione.
Woo!
Next, we have Sophia Fatima Thomas, graduating with their BS in ITAM as well. Sophia has pride in her culture, determined to succeed against all odds. I love it. Congrats, Sophia.
Yay.
Next, we have Tatiana Manaa, or is it Mana? With their degree in law and justice. Yay, Tatiana. And then last but not least, we have Teone, maybe said that right, Scanlon, their degree in sociology, double minor, nonprofit management and family science. Nice, nonprofit management. Love it, congratulations.
Thank you so much,
That is the
Glenn.
last of our graduates.
Let's give one more big round of applause for all of our graduates today. Yes. Woo, woo, woo. Love to see it. And thank you, Glendal, for doing our reading of the names. We appreciate you as always. So our last item on our agenda today is some closing remarks, just closing up shop and some final remarks from me. First of all, here's this little sneak preview of what you will all be getting in the mail. If you didn't get a chance to pick up, you've got some lays that our team spent all week creating. Thank you to Leilani for showing us how to make lays, and now I have found my summer project because it's very relaxing to do. You've also got some lihimoi candies, some Hawaiian Host chocolates, Pacific Vibes only stickers, and of course your Polycentral stoles. So before we get to that, I would like to do some thank yous. Thank you to the Diversity and Equity Center, the Equity and Services Council, and Polycentral for making this program a reality. I would like to thank all of our speakers who participated in today's ceremony: Mickael, Glendal, Brianna, Alana, Leilani, and Mickael. And of course, I want to thank all of our graduates who registered and participated today. We do this for you, and we're so honored to celebrate your achievements and recognize you. Now, I want to also take a few extra minutes to give an extra special thank you to our planning committee, because, you know, traditionally anyone who's graduating is not supposed to be involved in the planning process so that they can also enjoy all the sacrifices, all the surprises planned. However, this amazing group stepped up during a really challenging period of transition and worked so hard over the last several months to get us here today, sacrificing that ability to be surprised and also giving up so much of their time and energy to make this a reality. I want to note that this is the only ESC graduation in this season out of traditionally 5 identity-focused graduations who decided to put on a life component as opposed to just mailing out our care packages. So I would like to just, at the end, let's give an extra special round of applause to the following people. Jer Moananu, who kept our online presence strong and really helped us get graduates registered and kept Polycentral's presence visible, even though they were not officially active this year. So round of applause for Jer. I would also like to recognize Brianna Hunter, who was so instrumental in developing our program for today's ceremony and corralled our guest speakers and worked so hard behind the scenes, drafted our climate change statement from scratch out of nothing. So big round of applause for Brianna as well. And then finally, Leilani Sali. She's our first committee member and honestly the mastermind behind this whole operation. She helped plan out and select all the items that are in your care packages, which you can see a sneak preview of up on the screen. She consistently showed up and worked so hard to connect with the graduates. Oh, I'm getting emotional. And she made our drive-up celebration yesterday a reality. It made it so much fun and made sure that a pandemic would not stop us from celebrating Pacific Islander excellence. I'm so honored to have had the privilege to work with this group and really make this happen and celebrate all of your achievements. So Again, one more round of applause if you can unmute and just really celebrate this awesome committee. Honestly, like just no words to describe how hard they did. Woo! Okay, so some final housekeeping things. I'm gonna unshare screen here for this part. A couple of housekeeping things for our graduates. If you missed our drive up celebration yesterday to pick up your packet, this Monday, we are planning to put together the rest of the packages that we will be dropping off to be mailed within a few days, so early next week. So please give it about 1 to 2 weeks for delivery based on how far out it will be. It'll be traveling. As always, feel free to reach out to me if you're not sure about the status of your package. If you know your shipping address will be different from the one that you initially registered with, please email me as soon as possible so that I can update the mailing labels. Or if you also prefer to just pick up your package from the Diversity and Equity Center office next week, schedule some time with me between Monday and Thursday from between 1 and 5 p.m. when our office is open to arrange your pickup, if you'd rather just pick up your stole earlier. That's all I've got. Thank you. Oh, and then also because this meeting was recorded, this will be going live somewhere, most likely on YouTube, and we will be emailing that out to all of our graduates and facilitators and participants. So thank you all and happy graduation. Thank you all for being here.
Justin, can I say something before you close out?
Okay, sure.
I just wanted to thank you for all your hard work. You were very consistent, very hardworking, and this is something that you didn't have to partake and participate in. But like you said, the past few months have been hectic for you, and I can't wait for you to get that break, get some sleep. But overall, you're amazing, and I can't wait to recommend Polycentral to you as you continue your years on here at CWU. So thank you again.
Thank you, Jer. I appreciate that. Technically, it is part of my job requirements, but I still love the work nonetheless. I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording.